So as you just saw that, for the first time I actually put on a new type of guitar strings on this guitar, and I kind of feel like I want to give the backstory to this guitar, which I got obviously based on John Frusciante's 015M All Mahogany Martin guitar, but unfortunately that guitar stopped being manufactured in about the 50s or something like that, so because of that it's really expensive. But luckily we have larger body versions of that guitar, so we have the double O and the triple O versions, where more O's mean, you know, larger body size. And I had a hard time deciding which one to get, so I simply let the secondhand market do the decision for me, meaning that I got the first guitar of those two that I could find, which ended up being the triple O version. And when I got this, the second decision to do was which guitar strings to use. And I don't know if I'm bad at research or something like that, but I actually had a really hard time to find what strings John used for his acoustic guitar. So because of that, I started to research the topic of acoustic guitar strings in general to see kind of what advice there are out there. And then I found that there actually wasn't that uncommon to use electric guitar strings on acoustic guitar, apparently. I don't know if that's really true, but I kind of went with that. So I tried the strings that I use for electric guitar, which coincidentally is the exactly same as John's. You know, I tried the Dario EXL 110 because of him, because there are so many choices out there, and it's not like I have to use exactly what he used, but I tried these once, and needless to say, I haven't really looked at other options that much since, because I just think they feel and play and sound really great. So as you probably understand, what I decided to do was to try these on the acoustic guitar, and I just thought it worked out really great. It felt great to play. I think it sounded really good. So with that said, you probably understand what I did, which was to install these electric guitar strings on this acoustic guitar, and I was really happy with the result. I think it sounded great and felt great to play. And you know, I kept using these electric guitar strings on this acoustic guitar ever since, which has been like 6 years at this time. But then recently I received this awesome book, The Heart Book by Kentaro. And there's so much to say about this book, and I want to make a separate video on it. But in short, it's years of research on Frusciante's sound and gear and everything that is put together in a really artistic way, and I can't really recommend this book enough. But anyway, for the purpose of this video, what I found out amongst many other things was what guitar strings John uses on his acoustic guitars, which supposedly are these strings, the Dario EG16. And I do want to say that I asked Kentaro if it was okay to make a video about this. You know, I don't feel like I want to display too much content from the book or anything, but it was all good. So here we are comparing these two strings, and I have recorded 3 different riffs. One that is pure fingerpicking, and then we have one where I use as a capo with both fingerpicking and strumming of chords. And finally, the third riff is pure strumming of chords, both bar chords and open chords. So I figured that way we got all the main in-field examples and contexts, so we really can see how these strings compare. And one thing to add is that in this comparison, I have only done processing in the form of adding a compression and limiter to kind of get nice levels, but I haven't done any EQ or reverb or things like that I usually do, so perhaps they sound not as good as they usually do. But you know, the point here is to see how these compare and not make them sound as good as possible in post-production. But anyway, let's take a listen now. Okay, so there are so many things to address here that I barely know where to start. But my first impression when I put these strings on was that it felt like a completely different guitar to play. The gauge is really different. These are 12 to 53, while these are 10 to 46. And that extra thickness really made it feel a lot harder to play compared to what I'm used to. And also I felt like I lacked some of those higher frequencies that I'm used to. So my initial impression felt a bit negative, but that is probably because I'm so used to using electric guitar strings since I used that for such a long time, about 6 years. And that was my first impression, and now some days have passed and I already feel like these acoustic strings are starting to grow on me. The guitar feels a lot more stable, the tuning pegs feels a lot more stable, and the guitar becomes a lot louder, so it feels like more powerful and you get a more massive sound. And I think you can really start to hear that clearly when I start to strum the chords. It's not as clear in the fingerpicking, even though you can hear difference there. But when I start strumming, I really think you can hear a larger difference, in how powerful the strings feel, and also the frequency response is also quite different, I think. And I should also say that these strings has only been on for 1 day when I recorded these, so I didn't record it immediately. They had broken in for at least a day, but I feel like maybe these would have sounded a little bit better if I maybe had played these for a week or something like that, when they have broken in even more. I don't know, that's just speculation, but I feel like that could be the case. And another impression I get is that, the sound and feel of these makes it feel like this is how it's supposed to sound. They sound like more correct, if that makes any sense. But because of that, I kind of feel like these has a charm, because these feel like, kind of lo-fi in a quite cool way, and also a bit rebellious, because you get a sound that is quite unique. And like I said before, I didn't do as much post-processing as I usually do, and in there I usually, do things to kind of thicken up the sound. So, in this demo, these sounded a bit weak because I didn't really do that post-processing. So that is also something to keep in mind, that what you heard there isn't, the final result, but what you heard is what you got to work with when you do the actual post-processing of the recording. But at the same time, if you just pick up the acoustic guitar and play it live in a small crowd or something like that, then you can't really do that post-processing typically. So then that argument maybe does not make as much sense. And in my conclusion for this comparison, I'm a bit indecisive, because I feel like both of these have strengths and weaknesses, and I feel like they complement each other quite well. Like the strength of these are the weakness of these, and vice versa. So I almost feel like I want another acoustic guitar just to have both strings, but that is not really a resourceful way and a quite expensive solution, so I will not do that. But because of my indecisiveness here, I'm really curious what you have to say based on those sound comparisons. So please leave a comment on that below, and please hit the like button so the YouTube algorithm pushes out more Frusciante content to more people. I think that is really needed. A lot of people misses out on his great work. And yeah, I don't have that much more to say, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.